welcome back to another episode of the Launchpad. I am here with Alexis Nikki, and we are going to dive into her new project. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the rebrand from Kleøpatra into Alexis Nikki?
There was just a series of really unfortunate events that occurred January of last year, not only to myself, but to a couple really close friends of mine in the music industry, all on the dubstep side. So after all of that happened, I really just kind of like took a step back and was like, oh, like, I don't know. Um, it just eventually led me to wanting to rebrand. And I actually also started off producing big room house. So switching over to just regular house wasn't that big of a switch up for me.
Wasn't too big of a switch, right on. So, your newest track, One More Time, has been out for a little bit now, and I was listening to it earlier. That is an absolute banger. Can you please take me through the creative process of like what you did while you were making it?
Yeah, so I always start with drums and then like I'll just lay down like a basic bitch drum line and then I'll go through and do sound design and then once I have a sound that I really like, then I'll go in and start working on melodies and then I'll work through the build up and then I do the rest of the intro and then I duplicate the intro and the drop over and then I motif the rest of it.
That's awesome. So during that time frame, like, or like, what is the time frame while you create a song? Because I know some people can whip them out in like a day and a half, and then there's some people who have the more perfectionist personality while they're creating. What's your kind of vibe with that?
So that's another thing since I've switched over to house. All of the songs that I've made with house, I've done start to finish in 4 hours, whereas dubstep, it was like 40, and
Goodness
sometimes
gracious.
longer. It would just like, I would just be fighting to finish the songs and make it sound good, whereas house is just like
It just
spewing out
flows
of
out
me.
of you. Yeah, it's more of
Yeah.
like a natural feeling. So what got you started in the electronic music industry, just in general? Were you a fan your whole life, or was there something, was there like a switch one day? What was it?
So I actually played four different instruments when I was younger, and then I kind of lost interest in those in my teens. And then in college, I made a bunch of friends that were throwing the Safe and Sound tour, if you remember that. And they just invited me to shows all the time. So, and then one day it eventually hit me that that's just what I wanted to do. So I dropped out of the University of Utah to attend a private music production school here in Salt Lake City and just ran with it from there.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like everyone kind of had that one friend that was like, "Hey, you should come with me to this." And then it was just the
Yeah.
rest of our lives forever.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the scene like up in Salt Lake? I was there for a festival called Mutiny or something a few years ago, but I haven't really been back. Is it a super strong scene?
Yeah, it's definitely grown quite a bit over the years. There's Mutiny, they're like one of the major promoters out here. And then there's V2, and then there's a couple others that are a little bit smaller. LNE is another big one. But those three, they bring massive names every week, like Loud Luxury, Medusa, you name it, like they're coming out. And then there's V2 does most of the festivals. Mutiny does festivals also, but V2 is more prominent on the festivals.
Right on. So did you grow up in Salt Lake your whole life, or were you somewhere else in the country?
No, I was actually born in La Jolla, then I grew up in Lake Arrowhead.
I love La Jolla. It's freaking beautiful out there. The cliffs on the beach. Oh,
Yeah.
magical. So when did you make the switch up to Utah?
When I was in high school, so like
Okay.
13 and a half years ago, I didn't really have a choice. But the longer I stay here, the more I like it. It just keeps getting cooler and cooler. So
Salt Lake is beautiful too. The mountains are just absolutely freaking stunning.
yeah, it's just an outdoor playground. So
No, like quite literally. Do you do any like snow sports or anything like outside of music? Do you like ski, snowboard, anything like that?
yeah, so I actually used to compete in snowboarding when I was in high school. I don't compete anymore though, because I've had two knee surgeries from it, among several other injuries. And that just kind of took the fun out of it for me. So I still ride, but just don't
Just
compete.
not at a competitive level. I've always wanted
Right.
to try it. It seems so intimidating. Not only like see, you've already said you had to get two knee surgeries. That's just it's tough on your body.
Yeah, especially the older you get. I do know that snowboarding is tends to be easier on your knees than skiing just because you're attached to the same board versus different.
Right.
You can like twist your knees different directions. So,
Totally. So with your new project, is there any like main message you're trying to portray? Is there any type of inspiration, intentions you're putting behind it? Or is this just more of like a more of a self-expression type of thing? Maybe a little bit of both?
a little bit of both. It's definitely more of self expression because with dubstep, it just kind of felt like I was making stuff for other people, so to speak. It wasn't like stuff that really meant anything to me. And then now with my house stuff, I can actually visualize music videos for all of my songs, which I could never do for any of my dubstep before. So I feel like that's a really good sign too.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're really following more of like your soul's path rather than just kind of conforming to what you felt was right at the time.
Exactly.
Awesome. Is there any like what's like your next step in the project that you think? Are we thinking a tour? Is there like a dream collab we're working on? Anything like that?
Yeah, there's definitely a dream collab in mind. I'm not gonna say any names. And then I definitely want to start touring again. I only have like 3 weeks left of school, and then I'll have way more free time. I do plan to drop an EP next, though. That is the one thing I will say.
Ooh, how many songs on the EP?
2 to 3. I can't decide yet.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Is there a theme to that? Is the newest track going to be on that? Are these 2 to 3 new tracks? What are we thinking?
So the collab won't be on that just yet. There might be a different collab on it, but that one's been done for a while, and it's a good friend of mine. It's I don't know. I sent it to my friend, and he said it kind of reminds him of yin and yang because one of the songs is just like really pretty and like in your feels, and then the other one is very bass heavy.
Ooh, a little bit of both. You kind of get both
Yeah.
sides of the creative process. I like that. That's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So before music, what were you doing? Like what was pre Alexis Nikki and pre Cleopatra?
I mean, I started producing when I was 21, so I worked in a lot of coffee shops, I guess.
Oh, okay, a little
But
barista queen.
yeah, what I've been going to school for is actually UX UI design, which is website and app design.
Okay.
So what it's just another creative outlet for me, which I'll be able to do in the music industry also. So
Absolutely. I feel like that almost goes kind of hand in hand. You could almost create your own website and your own thing and your own
yeah,
marketing for yourself. That's perfect.
yeah, and I can do it on the road too, which is perfect. So
Exactly. There's never you don't really have to sit down in like a big office to do it. It's always kind of at
yeah,
your fingertips, ready to go.
exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So up in Utah, I know you said the scene is like kind of developing. Is it more bass heavy? Is it more house head heavy? Or is it a like good mixture of both? Because I feel like down here we have a very strong house scene. I'm interested to know what it's like up there.
So in the past, it's been mainly dubstep heavy, but I'm noticing quite a bit more house popping up, which I'm really glad for. We
No,
needed more
literally.
house out here, so yeah, it's slowly getting more diverse.
And I feel like as the house scene is like slowly growing, it's nice to have your kind of foot in the door already with already knowing the scene, and you can be one
Yeah,
of the curators almost of the growing on or of it on the rise.
exactly.
Is there any other goals you have with your music or anything you really, really want to do or want to say with your music?
One of my biggest goals would be to tour in Europe. I went there for my birthday last year, and I just didn't want to leave after.
What part?
But sorry,
What part of Europe were you in?
I was in Belgium.
Ooh, I've heard amazing things about Belgium. That had to have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And looking at my stats on Spotify, all my biggest cities are actually in Europe. So I'm like, let's go.
So, other than Belgium, what are some other main cities in Europe do you think you'd want to hit? Because I know, like, I think there's a club in Germany called like Berghain. I don't know if that's necessarily the correct term to say or correct way to say it, but
Pretty much
And
everywhere in Europe. I just love everywhere in Europe and the UK. And then I think it would be really cool to play in Japan also. So,
absolutely. So you said you have 3 weeks of school left. Is there any, like, fun post-grad plans or end of semester plans?
yeah, I'm gonna go to Hawaii with my dad, and then I was gonna plan a Vegas trip with a bunch of friends. And then one of my best friends she's from Scotland originally. She's moving back to Scotland like in the fall, and she wants me to go with her just for a couple weeks. So definitely want to do that too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
What part of Hawaii did you guys wanna go to?
We're going to the Big Island.
Ooh, fun, fun, and then anywhere special in Vegas? Because if you don't have any plans yet, the Cosmo is the best hotel you could possibly stay at.
That is my favorite hotel, so I'm
It's
already
the
on
best.
it.
It's so fun and outlandish. It's the
Yeah.
magical at that point.
Oh yeah.
There's also a little club, on Fremont Street. It's called Disco Pussy. It's like a
Okay.
little hole in the wall with an LED octopus on the ceiling, and the tentacles change colors. It takes over the entire
Yeah.
space, and it's like
That
it's an
sounds
EDM
awesome.
club. You would love it.
Hell yeah.
So you said you're going with your dad to Hawaii. Has your family been supportive of the music career along the way as well? Are they
Yeah, my dad's always been supportive of anything that I wanted to try in life, which I'm super grateful for because I know I wouldn't have been able to pay for the schooling and all the equipment when I was younger. There's just no way. My mom wasn't quite on board for the first couple years, but now she's super supportive and she basically begs me to take her to EDC every year now.
Yes, a rave mom
So,
in the making.
yeah,
That's so fun. I love that you're able to have them to lean back on because sometimes I know it's hard and there's some people in the industry who don't have that. And it's truly such a blessing to be able to be like, Mom, Dad, look what I did. And it seems silly to people who don't get like the club life
right.
or music life. They're like, okay. And you're like, no, listen to this song. Or like, I just met this amazing person and all this. And they're like, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than your parents, do you have any like specific friends or connections you've made along the way that have really helped skyrocket your project?
Um, it's so this is a friend that I've known for like several years. His name is Wesley Collins, but he's just been really great because right now I'm just independent. And yeah, I've been in the industry for 8 years, but I doesn't mean I quite necessarily know how to navigate everything. Like things are always different, changing. So he helps me out with any questions that I have and how I should like handle situations. So that's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like we all kind of need that buddy who's been in it a little bit longer that kind of is that little like, guide almost for you.
Yeah, and he's also introduced me because he manages artists too. He introduced me to some of his artists that I could work with also that are on like big name labels too. So it's awesome.
That's that's absolutely amazing. So before we wrap it up, we like to ask all of our artists here at Moon Landing, what is one thing you are grateful for?
I am grateful for all of my supporters, all my friends and my family.
That is an awesome answer. Well, thank you so much, Miss Alexis, for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. And thank you all for watching another episode of The Launchpad. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks.
Um,